Today we're talking big news across Impact, WWE, and AEW. As always, timestamps in the description down below. We're going to kick things off with Lady Frost and Impact Wrestling. If you're not aware of who she is, this story is going to be very interesting to you. So you guys know, maybe if you watch this channel, Lady Frost requested her release from Impact Wrestling earlier this year in June of 2022. However, Fightful Select has actually reported that Lady Frost's Impact release was not actually granted by the company. And this is actually kind of interesting, and I won't even deny it. I'm actually kind of bothered by this. So essentially, Lady Frost has not been booked since early April, and due to the terms of her deal with Impact, she's not being paid. In fact, she's actually on an exclusive paid per appearance deal with Impact. So instead of being like a full-time salaried contract, she only really gets paid when she wrestles for the company. Other wrestlers in Impact have been on this deal. Some wrestlers in AEW are signed to like a per appearance deal, but they're not signed to an exclusive per appearance deal. So for example, like AC Romero, Larry D, they were in Impact under this type of deal. They asked for their releases as well a while ago. So now basically what ended up happening was there was a whole bunch of stuff from Impact in terms of how they pay these contracts, how they pay these deals, and it kind of left me scratching my head. So, you know, for example, it was noted that on a day where talent worked 12 hours, only one meal was provided. There's also unpaid travel accommodations that Frost had said were effectively costing her money to work for the tapings for a company that she feels does not value her health. She's been going through some injuries and stuff like that. Obviously, when you're injured, you can't work. Therefore, you're not making money. It's costing her money to essentially work for Impact Wrestling, and they don't even have plans for her. When Frost was asking for her release, she was asked if she wanted to sit out the duration of her contract, which would have then left her unpaid for 2 more years. She hasn't been at tapings lately. She has no creative plans. She reportedly made it clear to the officials via numerous avenues that she wishes to be released, and she even requested her release to Anthem president and CEO Leonard Asper. I mean, this is like a weird situation. So, for example, reimbursements for things like blood work were not provided, though they were supposed to be. And then obviously the one meal during a 12-hour workday. Like, it's just like a really strange situation. Impact has not really had too much drama when it comes to talent and releases, and for the most part, they typically grant them. I'm not sure why Impact would go this route of trying to hold her in the company, especially when it just like this type of contract just doesn't make sense. Let's just be real. If WWE and AEW were doing this, it's a bad look. It's a bad look either way. But nonetheless, this is what we're dealing with. Very strange. Hopefully Impact figures that out. Guys, WWE Halloween Havoc is set to return as a premium live event, according to Mike Johnson of PW Insider. It's going to be taking place on Peacock Network Saturday, October 22nd. This show is set to be the next premium live event after NXT Worlds Collide. Now, we've been talking a lot about these NXT changes. This is going to be one of the first premium live events after this major NXT change. There is a belief that NXT is shifting more towards black and gold with a mix of 2.0. Obviously, we saw NXT UK get closed down. Now there's rumors that Triple H and Shawn Michaels are looking back at bringing back NXT TakeOver. So they're looking to bring that back. It obviously makes a lot of sense for WWE to do so. TakeOver NXT specials, they just felt really important. I also think WWE having premium live events, you know, from the Performance Center is totally cool. But if WWE is doing the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, or, you know, one of the big 4, SummerSlam, whatever it may be, I feel like they should also bring those events to the same arenas or same cities as some of those bigger events, because I think that's when NXT takeovers were some of my favorite events. But the idea that Halloween Havoc is going to return as a premium live event is really good news for WWE. It's a really good news for the future of NXT that they're going to be doing more premium live events, because that is something under the direction of 2.0. It is not too common. And now that Triple H is running things in the WWE, it makes a lot of sense for them to do so. Now, in regards to Halloween Havoc, I think this needs to be a massive PLE moving forward. This is one of those things where WWE, we just saw NXT Heatwave was on TV, Halloween Havoc being on a premium live event. You got to keep doing things like this. You got to keep making the show feel special. You got to keep booking good storylines. You got to make sure the wrestling is good. You got to keep developing talent. There's a lot of things that WWE should be doing with NXT, but one of the things is they need those premium live events to feel special. However it is, it doesn't really matter, but it was a big part of NXT's growth originally. Having successful takeover events is the way to get there. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see those takeovers return, but Halloween Havoc lives another year. All right, guys, Tony Khan talking about AEW and its roster. Very, very interesting comments from Tony Khan, because he says publicly that after the All Out pay-per-view, the roster will be the strongest and the best it has ever been. He says that he can't get too much into the plans for the weekend, but he has exciting plans for after the show. By Sunday at All Out and in general, it's going to be the strongest and best roster the company has ever seen. People will have to watch All Out to see what I mean by that. Also, probably the most severe star-studded injury list in pro wrestling. Yeah, I mean, they did. They had a very, very, very crazy list of injuries in AEW. But there's a lot of announcements being set for AEW. AEW is teasing a lot of things. Tony Khan is teasing a lot of things. We're going to learn more about this on Dynamite. But the idea is that AEW is not done with the signings. They're not done with these returns. They're looking at beefing up this roster. In my opinion, I feel like a lot of this is reactionary because of Triple H and WWE and the kind of momentum that they've gained in recent weeks. But I think the number one thing I want to see here, if Tony Khan wants to sign more talent at this point, nobody's opinions are going to stop that. But if there's one thing I would like to see Tony Khan do moving forward with these signings is actually use them and use them consistently. I feel like it is a very, very strange situation in which AEW has brought in Ruby Soho, Athena, Claudio Castagnoli, and so many other people, and still to this day, they are not being used consistently on television. Yet they'll be booked for a pay-per-view, and people are expected to think it actually matters, but it's not because they're not consistently on TV. I feel like there's a huge disconnect right now between AEW's product and the roster that they have, because they have probably the best roster in wrestling. Or, everybody could debate WWE and AEW's roster, but they have a very, very good roster. And the fact that a lot of people kind of get signed and then they get pushed underneath the rug, or sometimes they win a championship, like Wardlow won the TNT championship, and then like momentum loses very quickly after that. It's very concerning. So I look forward to see who debuts at AEW All Out. Obviously, we have the Casino Ladder match, so that's something to keep in mind. But I'll keep you guys updated as we get more updates. Thank you guys for watching.